Welcome to Divine Lotus Tarot. We are going to be taking a look at those of you who have significant placements of Sun sign Aquarius or other strong significant placements of Aquarius in your birth chart who are men. This is a multi-part series and this is part number 9. So we'll get into the messages for this particular reading shortly. I want to first invite you all to book your personal private session with me through my website, www.divinelotustarot.com. You can find the link in the description box below this video for those of you who are interested in supporting me, which I would be appreciative of you doing so. You can do so to my Cash App, which is $ Divine Lotus Tarot and the number 8, or you can send it via the PayPal link. All of that information is in the description box below this video. For those of you who are respectfully interested in following my social media accounts to connect with me, you can find the information to that in those accounts below this video as well. So yes, Aquarius sun sign males, or those of you who are males who have significant strong placements of Aquarius in your birth chart, this downloaded message that we're taking a look at is you have ties to ancient Egypt. So this reading is more so like a past life reading when we're referring to, or when I am in this particular instance referring to ancient Egypt. I'm referring to a past life type of energy that I was picking up on. So let's go ahead and get into the messages because I feel like this is going to be interesting. All right. So I feel like right now I'm kind of picking up there are 3 groups of you. Okay. For one group of you, you could have been like a very powerful, very wealthy, but overbearing and oppressive ruler, okay, during ancient Egypt times in one of your past lives. You were all about wealth, power, and control, okay? And this brought you lots of gratification. I feel like for some of you, you may have been a very selfish energy, okay? However, for this group of you all, it feels like your life was fulfilling at one point, but then it almost feels like there's a particular reason why you either had to abandon this position, okay, or there were individuals who abandoned you. So it kind of makes me feel like this either fueled you to become even much more like vindictive, okay, and you pushed people away. Now this also could be a situation where you may have been pushed from your position of power because you just kind of got out of hand, okay? You didn't do things respectfully, okay? You didn't respect the individuals who were under you, the people who were in your empire, okay? All of these same things that you reveled could have been the very thing to cause your downfall. Now, for others of you, I'm getting a scenario where you may have been in a position where you were the oppressor. So you may have played a position in ancient Egypt as a slave, okay, or someone who was just low in society, okay? So I kind of feel like that is your role. You may have been under the regime of a very oppressive ruler, an oppressive individual during that time, okay? But I do see you were an individual who was able to leave. You were able to escape or walk away from that situation. So eventually you got some type of wish granted that allowed you to break free from your oppressive ruler that you were under. Now, another group of you that I'm picking up on is you may have either had the opportunity to be like next of heir to inherit the throne of an individual who was a very greedy tyrant who ruled with a very oppressive energy, um, that was all about money, control, and power. And I feel like maybe for some of you, you end up walking away from this family because you didn't agree with this. This didn't align with like your belief system. I feel like you felt there was more to life than just, having slaves, focusing on money. Um, I'm hearing horticulture. So maybe this group of you all, you were more in the energy where you wanted to be like a farmer or something of that nature. But yeah, this group of you felt like whether it was farmers or you just wanted to not be involved or a part of a family dynamic that was so focused on material based and you wanted to be more so like with nature or just natural or um, being more involved with like gardening, touching. I get more like a tourist type of energy around this group of you all. Okay, so it's just some energy of you wanting to be more in like a natural state. Like you didn't want to be a part of this family. It kind of seems like there was other things that you were interested in, and I guess your dreams. You wanted to go off and pursue your own dreams, which did not entail you ruling other individuals and oppressing other individuals, or gaining a sense of power or control over other individuals. You wanted to work in a more natural state, a more natural environment, is what I'm picking up. So some of you could have essentially like emancipated yourself or abandoned or just walked away or fleed from your family, okay? Because you may have been under a next of akin to inherit or just a part of a family that, like I said, was very domineering, ruled very, um, just ruled with a very tyrannical type of energy, putting the desire for money, power, and control over doing right by the people of the empire that was under you all. And I feel like you didn't want to have any part to do with it. So you may have, like I said, abandoned and walked away or ran away or fled from your family. Okay. So you could go off and live in nature and live a more humble, more like natural type of lifestyle where you kind of learn to fend for yourself, and just cultivate things for yourself, and just like I said, just be more in tune with nature is kind of what it seemed like you wanted to be a part of. So some of you were either, yeah, and then for others of you, you could have been in a position, yeah, it feels either like for the same group of you, either some of you were just a part of the family, okay, and you left, and some of others of you, you were about to, like, you were going to inherit this, and you didn't want to inherit this type of you didn't want that type of responsibility. um I just feel like you just didn't want to have anything to do with like enslaving or oppressing other individuals, okay? And for others of you, you were just part of the family, and it just didn't suit you to be associated, with this type of reputation. Like it really meant something to you that you didn't want to be known for that, okay? Yeah, I feel like you wanted to go off and do things your own way, and I mean, it's just kind of giving me the energy of, any type of situation where there's a family run business. However, this is like a family run empire. And it's like, well, you have your own dreams, you have your own aspirations, you have your own goals. So it's like, well, you don't want to be a part of this. You don't want to, you know, inherit this because you have your own idea of what would be fulfilling for you, and it doesn't entail, enslaving other individuals. It doesn't entail being an oppressor. It doesn't entail just being a ruler over other individuals. I just feel like some of you just did not want that responsibility. Okay. And others of you just didn't want to be associated with this family, and you didn't feel like it was worth it. So some of you, like I said, you just walked away from this energy. Yeah, you made the choice to just leave. Okay. Let me see. Yes, yeah. Here's the Taurus energy that's coming in. Oh my goodness. So some of you left for a some of you left. Okay, some of you left because you wanted to marry like a common woman. Okay. So it would essentially be a sense where if you were in line next to be like a ruler, an emperor, pharaoh, you wanted to marry someone who was not from essentially like a royal background. So you essentially bypassed taking on that title so that you could go live a life where you could marry the individual who you wanted to marry, which was essentially a woman who was common. I guess that's what I'm getting. It's like a common energy, but like whether she was someone who you ruled over, your family line ruled over, or if it was just essentially someone from maybe like another empire or region or something like that. But whoever this person is, she did not hold a title. But I'm seeing you in this individual come up. I'm seeing you in this individual come as the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. Okay, which is interesting because the King and Queen of Pentacles shows up later on in a different series, a different part of this series. So this is interesting. So this this past life energy is correlating to another message of a download for another series that I'll get into later. But I'm seeing this King and Queen of Pentacles showing up. So for some of you, you abandon your position of next of kin to inherit a rulership position in ancient Egypt because you wanted to be with a woman who did not hold a position of the same, like she wasn't a ruler. She didn't come from a royal background. She didn't come from an empire. She wasn't royalty or anything of that nature. And then for others of you, you just left your family because you wanted to go have a regular life, is what I'm getting. Like you wanted to go establish your own wealth. You wanted to do it under your own terms. You did not want to inherit um, a sense of power or status, or just be, in a sense, get some type of privilege that you felt was like dishonorable. So some of you felt this privilege, how your family was running and ruling this empire, that it was very dishonorable. You didn't agree with that, and you stood up for yourself. um and some of you abandoned this, the family. Okay, or you fled, or you escaped, you ran away, whatever you did, you walked away from dealing with this family, and you said enough was enough. You stood up for yourself and you decided to move forward. And I'm seeing you find happiness with those of you who, chose to think for yourself and follow your own mindset. I see you moving forward, and you moved on with an individual who you went on to establish some positive relationship with. Okay. Now this is interesting because going back to those of you where maybe you were the oppressor, It could have been a situation where you secretly had a relationship with another individual, but this was the person who was not of status. However, you did not choose to walk away um from your behavior. Okay, so it's either the fact that you didn't, maybe it was a sense that maybe you would have had to give up your position as a ruler to be with this individual and you chose not to give that up. Or maybe it was a sense that you would have had to essentially just like do a 360 with the way that you were ruling your empire, and that was something that you chose not to do. Either way, regardless whether you chose to keep your position or you chose to not change your way that you ruled for this individual, I'm seeing you lost out on this particular person. For those of you who was actually in the role of being the oppressor, the oppressive type of emperor or pharaoh or whatever this was, the position of rulership that you had during this time in ancient Egypt. So some of you lost out on being with this individual because essentially you chose money over this individual. You chose control over this individual. You chose to oppress individuals instead of essentially choosing to establish a life with the individual. And I'm seeing it's like you could have changed your life. You could have changed your destiny by doing this, but you chose not to. So you had the option, you had the opportunity, it was presented, but you chose not to. You chose to stay in a position of power. This could be why some of you, where I said that energy of where you had people abandon or walk away from you. So some of you could have been lonely, and this made you even more bitter. It could have made you even more scorned. For some of you as well too, you were in positions where you were married to someone, but then this individual ended up leaving you because you were so focused on greed. You were so focused on control. You were so focused on power. Like it was your obsession. You were neglecting the relationship, or you could have been very mean spirited to this individual and start putting money and all of that over this relationship. And this individual could have walked away from you because of that. I'm seeing some of you, you lost your significant other, your wife. You could have lost your wife to someone who was totally not like you. That made you bitter. That made you upset. You lost your wife to someone who had less money than you and did not have a position of power, and that made you upset. This is interesting. So it's almost like this forever changed the way that you like looked at like life. This made some of you who were already mean and obsessive and wicked during this period of time even more bitter and cruel to your the people who you ruled over. So for some of you, this is why some of you got drove out of your position, because you became like out of control. And it was because you were scorned, you were bitter. You were taking out your hurt that your wife had left you for someone who was had less money than you and did not have a position of power, and this pissed you off and you took it out on the people who ruled over you, and this eventually led to your demise and you being drove away or drove out of your position because you became so like ridiculously obsessed with just being mean and wicked and cruel. You forgot how, like, it's like almost like your heart turned to steel. Okay, like you weren't ruling with the loving energy. So of course, when that happens, people start to resent and regret. Okay, and I feel like this is what led to some of you end up being driven out because it got to a place where it was just out of control. For others of you, your wife left you, and that just made you bitter. especially for the fact that she went to someone who had less money than you, because you placed a very high value on money. Like it really broke your heart and hurt your feelings. And instead of you just admitting that you were broken hearted, and sad, or changing your ways, you just continue to get even more mean and cruel. And this led to some of you just, having people just walk away from you, and you feeling isolated and lonely and bitter. Okay? This is interesting. I do want to say, for those of you where you feel this energy like currently, there could be subconscious impressions that you feel when it comes to, maybe like, for those of you, let's say, if you're trying to obtain wealth or trying to obtain a position of authority, um, or like getting promoted or things of that nature. Even maybe for those of you who are already in very significant, like wealthy, affluential positions, okay, or roles, or in careers, you could have some type of underlying subconscious energy pertaining to like guilt and shame around this, either for going towards these type of lofty like dreams, goals, or lifestyles, or because the fact that you have attained it. And I feel like it has something to do with the fact that subconsciously, because of this energy here, like there could be underlying guilt that you feel from when you were in one of these roles or positions, whichever role that may apply to you in your past life. So it kind of feels like there's underlying guilt or shame that you may feel. Okay. So, say for instance, you were the individuals who broke off from your family, either because you just didn't want to have be associated with this family in this ancient Egypt life, this past life, or this was those of you who were next to inherit the throne, and you chose to walk away. If you're in this life and you have a significant position of power, or you have a significant opportunities to go after, like getting promoted or going after positions that will put you um, in positions where you can gain like way more money than what you currently have, there could be some underlying shame or insecurity or fear around this. And it has to do with the fact that the family that you grew up with in this past life, like you walked away from that, like you abandoned that. So it's like you kind of tie or associate a shame or guilt with money, power, and control, because this was something that you wanted to distance yourself from in this past life. So I feel like some of you may need to like take that into consideration if you find yourself suffering, feeling guilty, or feeling remorse, or feeling shame, or feeling guilt about being in positions where you have lots of money, or going after positions to like get promoted to, moving up in ranks of position or leadership, or owning your own business, or things of that nature, like establishing some sense of security for you. Like maybe some of you, there's some sense of insecurity around you and your ability to go after this, and feel like you deserve to live a wealthy life, an abundant life, a prosperous life. Or for those of you who are already in this position, it could be like there could be times when you just kind of feel guilt or you shame about being in a position of having so much money, or being in a position where you have um a very well, large business or something like that. But I kind of feel like it's because of this underlying issue that you had, because you felt guilty, being associated with this family that was tyrannical and put all this attention on, and highlighted that was very significant and influential. Okay. But those are all the messages I have for you. I hope that was helpful. Be blessed.